What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych. We got a big show ahead of you today. We are talking some Peacemaker episode 6. I've been waiting for this episode for a long time. We, of course, got screeners for the first 5 episodes, and then we were waiting on that cliffhanger. And so episode 6 is finally here. Can't wait to talk about that one. I'm going to give a brief chat about Gen V Season 2, Episode 4. Our guest who is going to talk about that with me, unfortunately, had a last-minute thing come up, so they're not able to hang out. So we'll do a bit of a double down on Gen V next week, spend a little bit more time with it, and this week I'll just kind of give my spoiler-free thoughts on the episode, and we'll talk a little bit of the PlayStation State of Play as well, with a huge new Wolverine trailer finally dropping. Joining me to break down all of it, we got Sean Mott of Metalcore Nerds and Agents of Fandom. How you doing, Sean?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here as always. I wasn't here last Friday, so nice to be back. I had quite an eventful last Friday. It was something else.
What
I had to
happened?
bring my dog to the vet. I found a bolt in my tire, so I had to get my tire plugged. But I thought I was going to have to replace the tire, so getting a plug is obviously a much better situation. And then my washing machine died, so I just got a new washing machine after getting a new fridge after my fridge died. It's been a September. You know, this is adulting. These are the problems you deal with when you're an adult. So I'm happy to be here talking about anything other than that stuff. It's nice.
Happy to be talking about some fun stuff and talking about it with some great people, including our guest for today. We missed him. We haven't seen him in a while. I was just listening to him on the Reckless Rebellion podcast right before we went live because I missed him that much. Kleinfeld, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy, I guess, the day after Peacemaker episode 6. Life is good. Been a good week. My September, not nearly as eventful as yours, Sean. Although, this will be right up your alley. Just saw Linkin Park this past weekend. And let me tell you what. Oh, man, striking something off the bucket list. Fantastic stuff.
That's awesome.
If you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up for you, Klein, because that's what I only got through like the first 20 minutes of the pod before we had to go live. And so I was like, I know Klein just saw Linkin Park. I know Klein just saw Haim. And so I was going to make you dive into the concerts.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I mean, I contain multitudes. Seeing the girly pop girlies on Saturday night and then going and seeing Linkin Park, striking that from the bucket list, as I said. It was a big deal. I talk a lot about it on the latest episode of Reckless Rebellion, but like Linkin Park for me was a formative band, something that I listened to for a long time from, I'd say like ages like 9 to like 15. And then I kind of fell out of it. I kind of became too cool for school when it came to that sort of thing. But then when Chester Bennington, the original lead singer, passed away, it hit me finally, like, whoa, how much this band really truly does mean to me and how much they had helped get me through in my early teenage years and that sort of thing. And so finally getting to be able to see them live, it was cathartic. It was absolutely insane. The new singer's incredible. Hearing the entire arena just like screaming numb at the top of their lungs is just, it hit so hard. It was so good. I will never, ever forget that night.
That's so awesome.
Klein, I want to keep it with you first as we chat a little bit about Whatcha Watchin'. And I'm extra excited for this segment today because last time when we did Whatcha Watching from our Marvel Zombies show, which you can find up on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, in addition to our Marvel Zombies breakdown, I interviewed Brian Andrews, the director, Brad Winderbaum, head of Marvel TV streaming and animation. That is up on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. So when you're hitting the like button, you're subscribing, you're hitting the notification bell, leaving us a nice 5-star review, go and check out those podcasts as well. But I missed What You're Watching on that show because my internet died for the first 5 minutes of our podcast earlier in the week. And so Damon had to take the lead and I didn't get to do it. And so I'm excited to talk about a bunch of new stuff. But first off, Klein, I want to know what you're watching.
Okay. we're going to take it HBO. We're going to talk about Peacemaker today, but there's another great HBO show happening right now. Just caught up on it this week. I'm now fully caught up. Task, from the creator of Mayor of Easttown, a fantastic gritty crime drama. It is like HBO's current tentpole Sunday night thing. Like, I know that is kind of like means something to a certain contingent of people when it comes to TV watching. If you get that Sunday night slot on HBO, it means you are big time, and this show is big time. Mark Ruffalo, absolutely fantastic in it. It is about a FBI agent and a criminal kind of playing this game of cat and mouse. Criminal with a heart of gold, I'll say, like the kind of like criminal where you're like, I see why you're doing this, and I'm kind of on your side, but like, what? Why'd you have to do what you had to do? It is absolutely fantastic. It's just like this great back and forth of whose story is gonna fall apart first, and I'm really loving it. It's only 3 episodes in right now. So this coming Sunday will be episode 4. I think it's only 7 episodes total. And I'm not super familiar with a lot of the cast. I know that I think his name Tom Pelphrey, who plays kind of the main criminal, who is from Industry, which I also just started watching. So I've heard, or I don't know if he's from Industry. There is someone from Industry connected in the show, but a lot of British people in it playing people with Philadelphian accents, and you would have no idea that they were Brits.
Speaking of shows that are only 7 episodes, even 6 episodes, I want to talk a little bit about Chad Powers, because that drops on the 30th here of September on Hulu and Disney Plus for our fellow Canadians like myself, you, Klein, Aisha, hanging out in the chat right now. Chad Powers, 6 episode series. For those who don't know, it's a adaptation of like the Eli Manning ESPN skit, where after he retired, he put a bunch of like makeup and prosthetics on, went to college tryouts, a walk-on tryouts, and the only one who knew was the head coach. So they were filming him, and it was a real silly thing, as people are like, what the hell is going on? And he called himself Chad Powers, and now Glenn Powell, Michael Waldron, writer for many Marvel projects like Loki, they decided to remake this, and I didn't have very high expectations, but holy shit, is it hilarious. It is so fucking
It's Glenn.
funny.
You gotta trust in Glenn.
Best, like, funniest performance of his career. Maybe the funniest show I've seen of 2025 outside of The Studio. I think The Studio is probably the funniest show I've seen this year. But I think Chad Powers might come in number 2. The sports story aspect is great. The whole cast is awesome. And then it just ends after 6 episodes without wrapping up the story. Like, it relies so heavily on season 2 that has not been announced yet. So, like, I assume a season 2 will come as long as people watch this show. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. But, like, they wrap up one portion of the story and cliffhanger the rest for a season 2. Like, this is very much a mid-season finale that is called a season finale. So this would have, like, I wrote the review. It's up on agentsfandom.com right now. You can find it. It dropped this morning. This probably would have been pretty close to a 10 out of 10 for me if it wasn't for how it ended. Like, it just needed to be. It's not a season of television. It is a half season of television.
It's a great first act.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it honestly kind of feels like you get the first and even second act, and then it just ends before the third act begins. So it's great. It's just too short and very much a half season of television. But the 6 episodes I watched were really, really great. It felt like a middle ground of Ted Lasso and Blue Mountain State. Not as raunchy as Blue Mountain State, not quite as wholesome as Ted Lasso, but like a middle ground of, stylistically and from a story standpoint, like a middle ground between Blue Mountain State and Ted Lasso. Really, really enjoyed Chad Powers. Check it out when it drops on September 30th. I'll give as people know, if they've listened to the podcast, I've been questing to watch as many classic movies and, good movies, award-winning movies, full catalogs for top-tier directors and actors. And so I'll go through my list, but before that, Sean, I want to know what you've been watching.
So I went through a lot of what I was watching on Wednesday's show, but apparently it is the this is like the week of shows ending on cliffhangers because Marvel Zombies definitely ended on a cliffhanger, and also Alien Earth sort of ended on a bunch of a cliffhanger, and that is much. It tells its story where kind of the main crux of the. If you haven't been watching, like the main crux of this is that this new mega corporation within the alien world has found a way to transfer consciousness into synthetic bodies, and they use it for dying children, which is obviously super messed up, but fits right in line with the alien world and how corporations govern everything. And it has a full arc for them, for these hybrids, but there's certain things that are very much like a setup for future seasons. And I know Noah Hawley has talked about how there is a many season plan. It still hasn't got renewed for a season 2, but I liked the finale. I didn't like it as much as the rest of the season. I thought like like I reviewed the first 6 episodes for Agents of Fandom, and I was like, this is like top tier in a year of TV that has been unreal. This was at the top of the list, and it still is probably in my top 10. I think I need to go through. I've probably watched, I think, close to 50 series from this year. It's pretty wild. I look at the list and I'm like, I don't know how I watch this much TV. It's kind of sickening, but it's what it is. So it's funny that a bunch of shows are ending like that. Is Chad Powers weekly, or are they dropping it at once?
I believe it's weekly.
Okay, well that's good at least. We've talked about the binge drop, so hopefully that'll keep the conversation going for that enough. If it ends that way, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's weekly for sure, because I remember when I was watching the screeners, like each episode had like a specific spoiler embargo.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's cool. And Michael Waldron, shout out to him for getting into like sports shows, because he also wrote, and I think was the show creator of the show Heels that you can now watch on Netflix. I believe it was a Stars thing. It got canceled after 2 seasons. Stephen Amell is the star of it, but it's about this like small town wrestling federation that him and his brother take up after his father commits suicide. And that's a really good drama wrestling. It has a bunch of actual wrestlers in it who are playing obviously different people. So it's cool that he obviously has a big thing for sports, because he does a lot of it outside of his Marvel stuff. And it's stuff like he is like the driving force behind it. So that's cool to see. The only thing that I have been watching since Wednesday, I guess, I finished Twisted Metal season 2, which I don't want to say this is a dig, but it feels like Diet Fallout. Just because it's not as good, but it tonally it's very much the same. And it's obviously a video game adaptation, but it has like the same humor. It has like the same gore factor as Fallout. It's just not done as well. But Anthony Mackie's in it, and he's awesome. So it's cool to see him in like an episodic format. And his character is definitely a lot different than what we usually see him in, because he is kind of like goofy. He's capable, but goofy, because he had some sort of accident where he has amnesia and doesn't remember everything in his past. So some of the things he reacts to, and obviously it's a post-apocalyptic world, so some things they don't understand when they like witness it as something that we're like, oh yeah, it's an everyday thing, but for them it's not. So it's just some of the way he reacts to things like that is just funny, and I feel like it's not something we've seen Anthony Mackie do, and that's a joy. I mean, that dude has charisma and charm up the wazoo, so you get to see him do an episodic format, which is fun. But that's really, I have also been watching Task, which is awesome, and I think the coolest thing about that show is each episode, like 2 and 3, have just like in dialogue revealed this like kind of earth-shattering reveal for the characters that we're seeing it in, and I love when stuff does that, and I just can't wait to see what else is surprising about this show as it goes along, because we're only 3 episodes deep and it's already been, you're like, oh my god. Me and my friend Liam have been talking about like every Monday morning we text each other and we're like, bro, Task, I can't believe that happened, or whatever, it's
Who's the mole?
yeah, who is the mole? We were talking about that too. So that's a really, really good show. So if you're not watching Task, you need to watch Task.
It does a really good job of keeping a lot of a lot of stuff that you immediately, the second it's presented to you on screen, you have questions about, and then not touching it for a week or 2 weeks. And then, yeah, as you said, just casually bringing it up and it's like, oh, like that's why they're doing this, or like that's why we saw them, like that's why Mark Ruffalo was at the jail or whatever. I think that is like one of the best things I can say about it is I'm never left leaving the episode going like, man, that feels like empty. It feels like I didn't get enough answers, because I know that they're just like sprinkling these little breadcrumbs in and like filling out these worlds, and just giving every single character just enough baggage for you to like buy into their story. Like after episode 1, everybody, you don't have all the answers, but you know everyone's got stuff going on in their lives and you want to know more about it.
Heck yeah, that is definitely one I'm going to be adding to my list. Ava, my wife, loves a cop show, more like a procedural than a cop show specifically. But with all these rave reviews, we'll be checking out Task as well. In terms of the movies I've been watching lately, I've been trying to watch one movie per day, every day. I originally was thinking I'll do 2 a day on the weekends, and it's just been too hard because I've realized weekends are way busier than my weekdays are. And so on recently, my most recent one, in advance of One Battle After Another, I want to watch as much PTA as possible. And so I watched There Will Be Blood for the first time yesterday. I think not my favorite. The plot didn't hook me that aggressively, but objectively an incredible film. Like objectively a 5-star film. All the performances are just freaking incredible. Before that, I watched, ashamed to say, because I don't know why it took me so long, but on the day before yesterday, on Wednesday, I watched Top Gun Maverick for the very first time. And
wow,
10 out of 10. It's a great movie. I was slow because I honestly, frankly, I don't really give a damn about the first Top Gun. Like that movie did nothing.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, TJ.
Top Gun Maverick was incredible. It was incredible. I will say, exact same first act to Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds is Green Lantern and Top Gun Maverick, exact same first act. But I don't even mean that as a slight. Like it's a great movie. The Fugitive with Harrison Ford I watched for the first time this week. Speed I watched for the first time this week. Risky Business for the first time. I watched National Treasure as a rewatch just because I love that movie. I watched Elio for the first time this week, now streaming on Disney Plus. Licorice Pizza. That was the one that was the biggest disappointment for me. Licorice Pizza.
Really?
I didn't really like Licorice Pizza. And so I still do want to watch Phantom Thread and oh my gosh, what was the other? And Magnolia. Phantom Thread and Magnolia are the two I really want to watch before I go see One Battle After Another. But that has been my last week of movies. Before we talk about TV shows, I want to talk about video games because, Klein, you host a wonderful podcast called The Controller Club, where you guys just, I didn't catch it, but I assume you were live streaming for State of Play. And I want to know what the highlights were for you outside of Wolverine, because I feel like we're going to give Wolverine its own little segment here.
Yeah, we were live streaming. You can find that over on our YouTube channel, Controller Club, and podcast services. We'll be doing a deep dive into the State of Play coming up this weekend. It was a decent State of Play. I think that the State of Plays in general over the last little bit have always, not even the last little bit, just since the State of Play name kind of came to be, has been a bit of a mixed bag. This PlayStation presentations are more where like we get the big tent pole announcements, but they haven't done one of those in over 2 years. So I think that State of Play, we almost have to kind of like readjust our expectations because they're kind of mixing in all of those announcements, doing like 1 or 2 PlayStation presentation announcements in every State of Play that we get. So this one was pretty good. I think that it started and ended quite strong. As you said, Wolverine was there. That's very exciting. We'll talk about that. The middle, it's hard with these sort of presentations. You want to give everyone at least 1 or 2 games they can leave and be like, oh, I'm excited about that. I think Soros, which started the presentation, looks incredible. Returnal is such a fun action third-person shooter roguelike from the team behind like arcade games like Resogun and Dead Nation and things like that. And they really leveled up with Returnal. And I think they're doing that again with Soros, which just looks like this like awesome follow-up to that game. And the other shout out I'll give is this little indie game that I'd never heard of before. I think this was its debut, called Chronoscript and the Endless End. It's this 2D, they said 2D exploratory action platformer, which to me screams Metroidvania, which if you don't know is like a genre that the Castlevania games fall under, and Metroid, and those are my kind of favorite kind of games. And it looked like it all takes place in kind of an open book in a library, and you're kind of going from page to page and moving throughout this like 3-dimensional world, but on a 2D plane in these books. And it was such a cool, unique art style. I love that games can look like so many different things, and this to me was one of the highlights. But other than that, it was good. The big thing was Wolverine.
And I'm so excited for this. Like, we got, was it 2 or 3 years ago, Klein, that we got just a little tease?
4 years ago. It was 2021, the same day, the same presentation that Spider-Man 2 was first announced.
We get the little teaser of Wolverine 4 freaking years ago, and the first trailer is finally here. Sean, what's your how much time do you spend playing video games? What kind of systems you got over there? Have you played the Insomniac Spider-Man games, and are you excited for this Wolverine?
I have PS5. I have a Switch too. But it's kind of I don't play all the time, but that's kind of my unwind activity. Like if I just want to sit there and unwind, that's like my thing. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 5 for the first time. I got it for like $20 at GameStop when we got a Switch 2. So that's like what I've been playing lately. I played all the Insomniac Spider-Man games, the Miles Morales one too, and they're so unreal, like so incredible. And I mean, after playing Spider-Man 1 and the obviously the announcement of a sequel, I was immediately excited for, and then seeing the Wolverine one, I was like, oh, okay, let's go. And going into watching this, I know everyone, when State of Play, everyone's like, oh, I hope we get our first real look at Wolverine, because we've all seen that shot of him in the bar last 4 years, and that's like all we really got, besides like the leaks, which I didn't watch or pay attention to what anyone said about them. So my anticipation for that was very high, but the trailer just blew those expectations out of the water. Like I feel like Insomniac truly understands what people want from these video games, and they just delivered a feeling that I did not know I wanted out of this, while simultaneously being everything I wanted at the exact same time. I was just like in awe of how bloody and brutal, and that's how a Wolverine game should be. And I like that. It's funny because we talked about the Mando and Grogu trailer like 2 days ago, and how that gave you nothing, but it didn't excite me. And this really gave you nothing, but it excited me so much, because I think it included like small things like Mystique and Omega Red and a Sentinel, and you're going to be in Madripoor and Canada and Japan and stuff, like just little tidbits like that, where I'm like, okay, this is going to be sprawling. It's going to be epic. It's going to be so damn brutal, and the gameplay looks awesome. Like obviously we know from Spider-Man, like controlling Spider-Man, those games, like half of the fun is just swinging around New York.
It's
like
taken
traveling
for granted now how
It
good
is
the Spider-Man games are. Like,
so good.
people shit on Spider-Man 2 so much now. That
blows
is an
my mind.
incredible game. It
That
is
game rocks.
absolutely incredible game. My only issue with Spider-Man 2 is they set up so many story threads at the end that made me want DLCs to them that aren't coming. That's my only issue with Spider-Man 2. But it is so much fun. The gameplay is just incredible.
Yeah, and like what they did with Venom, which is obviously like atypical for what Venom usually is, I thought was such a cool take. And the whole, like obviously Spider-Man gets the Venom symbiote and you have to fight with Miles, like that kind of dynamic I thought was so cool and so well placed within the story for where those two characters were at. So it was cool to see something so familiar done differently. Even the Craven Venom stuff was sick too. Like a lot of it was just so cool and so well done. I've only recently seen that people like don't like Spider-Man 2 on Twitter, and I'm like, when did this happen? Like, I was like, I remember playing this game, talking with my friends, being like, this game is so dope. Like, it's what a sequel should be. Like, the opening scene of that game is a movie in itself. Like, that opening scene is cooler than almost anything Spider-Man we've ever gotten, and we've gotten incredible Spider-Man stuff in films and TV, but like that whole is up there with a lot of stuff. Like, it is so cinematic and sprawling and awesome, and like that whole game is. I'm stoked for the third one. I can't wait to see how the story continues. But yeah, I'm so stoked that this is going to come out in fall. Like, obviously we know the video games that can definitely change, but like these are the kind of games I'm attracted to, is mostly story-based games. But if it's a story-based game and it's a superhero game, I'm pretty much in the bag. I talked about it on the Marvel Zombies one. Like, I played Marvel's Avengers even, which that game kind of sucks. Story's awesome, the game sucks. And so it's like, if you get like, I've almost beaten the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game, which is like a better version of the Avengers game, where the gameplay still is kind of repetitive and stuff, but it's a lot more fun, I guess. I don't know. And the story of that is really cool too. And that's what has been driving me in a lot of these things. So if the gameplay is good and the story is good, you got me. It's like, that's why both Last of Us games are like my favorite games ever, because it's like the perfect combination of gameplay and story. So yeah, I'm over the moon excited for this game to come out and me to play it and disappear for 2 weeks while I try and beat this game, probably.
I'm realizing, Sean, we talk all the time, and yet outside of The Last of Us, we've basically never talked about video games. And now we're at 2 shows in a row talking about it. So look at us, back to back. Klein, what did this trailer do for you? We play games, but you break down the games. You're an expert. I want to know, give me your expert's opinion of how this looks.
Well, I think that for a long time with Wolverine, since that first trailer dropped, we as people who follow the industry, as people like, not even like, I'm not even putting on my like journalism hat here, just like people who are plugged into the gaming industry had thought about this game and thought about like, what is a Insomniac Wolverine game going to look like? Will they go all out with the violence? Who will there be other mutants? Is it going to be open world? Will the yellow suit show up? And the best thing I can say about this trailer is it was everything I expected it to be, yet I was still excited with every little detail that they showed off, even though I already in my head was like, yeah, it's going to be rated M. But then when he tears a dude in half and shoves his claws through someone's jaw, I was screaming. I was like, I can't believe that this is happening in real life. Yeah, we kind of had some idea based on the Spider-Man games that the yellow suit would show up. But when it showed up, like, we have a TikTok up on the Controller Club social pages right now, like, of us freaking out with each little thing that pops up. And Insomniac understands these characters, these worlds so incredibly well. And so to get the Wolverine, get the mutants, get the X-Men, like get that side of the Marvel universe, like rendered in this sort of way is just like, can we swear on this podcast?
Fuck yeah, Klein.
Okay, it's a fucking dream come true. Like it is truly something that, as a comic book fan, as a video game fan, as somebody that literally devotes my every day to following these superhero things and writing and doing all the stuff I do over the Direct and then doing the Controller Club stuff on the side. Like, this is in the Venn diagram of this video game. I am directly in the center and it looks fucking awesome. So I am here. I'm ready. Sean, you said that you're worried about this, like video game delays, that sort of thing. This game's hitting fall 2026. Insomniac does not call out a date unless they are going to hit it. This studio is prolific. In just the PS5 generation, they've put out Miles Morales, a Ratchet and Clank game, Spider-Man 2, and now this. They don't call their shot unless they know they're going to hit it. This game's going to come out probably, I'm going to say, like around this time next year, like end of September. They usually kind of like, that's where Spider-Man 1 hit, that's where Spider-Man 2 hit. So this time next year, expect to be playing this game. We'll probably hear more about it in spring, as they kind of teased in the deep dive there, but it looks great. This game looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm excited to see. I think that this could be like a leveling up for Insomniac a little bit, where this is their Last of Us moment, whereas Spider-Man 1 and 2 was like, those are great games, but they never reached that like truly masterclass moment for me. Like they felt very much like Naughty Dog's Uncharted games, and now we're gonna get like, let's do something that's gonna move some people, and it's gonna be the Wolverine game.
I feel like we could spend a whole podcast just speculating on what we could get. Like Ryan in chat saying, I wonder how soon we get X-23. We know Insomniac loves to plug in all these different characters from the universe, whether it's in a tease or a full-on appearance. I can't wait to see like extra X-Men pop in on occasion, whether it's this game, a sequel, a DLC, whatever. We've already seen
Is Cyclops here. Like, do we get X-Mansion stuff? Like, that's all like on the table here, which is
like,
so cool.
I could like fully just see we get a situation where we get to go into the X-Men mansion. They're all there, and you can just have conversations with them. Like there's some preset conversations there, and even more so, like it's on the table because of what we saw in Spider-Man 2, where they do the craziest freaking perspective shift, and then all of a sudden you're playing as Venom. That could happen. That could happen.
Can I throw something out here, TJ? I have a theory. I have a fun Wolverine game theory. We can come back to this when this game comes out. We know Mystique's in this game. I guarantee one of the missions you play, Wolverine's doing some crazy shit. You're like, what's going on? This isn't Wolverine. Like, yeah, he tears people in half, but this doesn't feel like him. And it ends, and it's revealed that like for a portion of the game, you've been playing as Mystique.
Oh, that would be cool. Oh, that would be very cool.
Be so cool. Because I am wondering, because this is supposed to be in the same world as Spider-Man.
We don't really know.
Like, it seems like yes, but who knows? But like, you know, what's the state of the X-Men? Are the X-Men together? Are the X-Men apart? Was this Wolverine in the X-Men at some point and not? Like, that's like kind of the beauty of, and like I said with Spider-Man, like they took their own liberties with things that were very familiar and did their own twist on it. So I'm very excited to see what they have in store, because even with trailers and stuff, I feel like in a lot of those I mean, I kind of tune out of game trailers. Like I usually watch them. I think I remember watching the Spider-Man 2 one, and it was like the big black suit ability trailer, and I don't even know if there was one after that or whatever, but they still didn't give like anything away of the story, you know, other than the fact that Kraven's in it, you get the Venom symbiote at some point, and that's really it. You know, I know some people could put the stuff together with Harry and all that, but for the most part, a lot of it was kept close to the vest. So I'm sure it's gonna be the same with this, and we're not gonna really know what the actual story is and what's actually gonna like who's gonna show up and who's gonna be involved. So that's exciting, and the fact that it's globetrotting, like anything is up in the air for who can show up, and not even just X-Men characters. Like what if we get other major Marvel characters involved too?
I could be in it. It takes place in British Columbia at one point. There's a sign for Squamish. I saw it. You're on the sea to sky highway in that game. I know what's going on, Insomniac. I see you.
Breaking news. You heard it here first. Agents of Fandom exclusive. Kleinfeld will appear in the Wolverine game in fall 2026. Speaking of fall 2026 and release dates that have been published, Klein, I would love your take on a game that I'm excited to play that is supposed to be coming out also in fall 2026, and we got absolutely no new footage for, and that is Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. The Captain America Black Panther crossover here, also supposed to be, you know, story mode, get to play as both of them. Very exciting. Is this game coming next year?
Well, it was supposed to be this year, and it got pushed to next year. So this is a game for me that will not exist until I have it in my hands. I have it downloaded on my PlayStation, and I'm sitting there playing it. Amy Hennig, God bless her soul, she is one of my favorite people working in the video game industry. She gave me the Uncharted series, which is like, for that, I can never repay her. It's one of my favorite gave me my love of Naughty Dog, which eventually led to The Last of Us. But she, since leaving Naughty Dog, first her version of Uncharted 4, axed, she leaves Naughty Dog, goes to do her own thing. And guess what she decides to do? I'm going to go make a Spider-Man game. Or not Spider-Man game, a Star Wars game with EA. Amazing. We're going to get Star Wars Uncharted. This is going to be awesome. And then EA, midway through development, is like, nah, single player games, dead. We're canceling your project. Gone. And since then, she's just kind of been like fiddling away on things. And they announced this. And just because of the track record of the last decade of her career, I'm like, I can't trust that this game is real until I'm playing it. So I hope it's next year. It could be 27. It could also be like canceled and never see the light of day, which I hate to say, but it's just it is vaporware to me at this point.
That's wild that she worked on an Uncharted like EA Star Wars game, and then they came out with Fallen Order, because that's what that game is. It's 1,000%.
Project Ragtag is what it was called, and you were going to be like this group of bounty hunters doing like Uncharted stuff in the Star Wars galaxy.
We just got a single player Black Panther game canceled a few months ago. Now, if this one doesn't come to light, I'm going to be a sad guy, but hopefully we do get to see it. One game that it's not in my hands yet, but it's pre-ordered and we know it's coming. I can't wait to play. Didn't think we are going to spend this much time on gaming, but it's just kind of happening naturally. God, I'm so excited for Ghost of Yotai. I am doing a replay of Tsushima right now. Just on there is no competition to the beauty of this game. Like, it's just on another level. It's absolutely incredible. I can't wait for Ghost of Yotai. Klein, I'm assuming you got it pre-ordered. Sean, how about you?
I do not, only because I've only played the first act of Ghost of Tsushima. Other than the fact of there's so much stuff to do, and I was a sucker for all the side missions, because the stories on the side missions are also so sick that eventually I get so caught up in something that I just stop playing video games for an amount of time, and I haven't gotten back to it. There's no reason other than that, but that game is so sick. I need to finish it, but I know this one's like hundreds of years prior, and I probably don't even need to finish it to play the new one. But the weird completionist in me would want to finish the first one before I play the new one. So eventually, when I get there, I will likely play it for sure. It looks amazing. It looks incredible.
Klein, give me a few words on Ghost of Yotai, and then we'll make the transition to TV.
Very excited. Less than a week. We're going to be doing, it's our book club game for Controller Club for October. So we'll be doing a full like spoiler deep dive at the end of October once we've all finished it. But I am amped. Ghost of Tsushima was my like stay-at-home pandemic game during one of the lockdowns, and I lived in that world for however many dozens of hours.
Couldn't agree more. It is such a good game. I just started a replay. I finished the night before last, so all I did was like the prologue and a little bit further past. And so I'll probably not finish before Ghost of Yotai, but I've done it twice before, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for the controls and get me back in the mood a little bit before diving in. I'll make the transition now to Gen V, which, like I talked about earlier in the show, I won't give a full in-depth spoiler-filled breakdown because I don't want to spoil it for the two of you who are planning to see it and who haven't seen it yet, and we don't have our other guest, Chris, who was going to be joining today. He wasn't able to make it, and so we're going to just maybe double down on Gen V a little bit next week, and I'll just give my spoiler-free thoughts on episode 4. But I truly think this is the best show on television right now. Not of the year, but that is airing right now. It's just incredible. It's I think I like Gen V even more than The Boys. I think season 2 is even better than season 1, and I thought season 1 was incredible. The villain Cypher in season 2 here, he is terrifying. He is full of mystery, and episode 4 we finally get like what we think are some reveals, and then everything is just turned on its head immediately after. It's just such a strong series. I'm trying to think of what to talk about without actually spoiling anything, but like, Sean, have you seen any of the episodes of season 2 yet, or just not episode 4?
Haven't started yet. I have been rewatching season 1 though.
Okay. It like
just because
episode 4, well, they've been somewhat squadded up throughout season 2. You know me, you know I love getting the squad together. And episode 4 is really the first one where we get a lot of those character interactions that I've been missing from earlier on in the season, much like actually what we get in this newest episode of Peacemaker, where episode 6, this show to me is so much, and both of these shows are at their strongest when we have both the full crew together interacting with each other's. That was the strongest part about season 1, is these character dynamics for honestly both Gen V and Peacemaker. And shout out to whoever the guy was from days ago when I posted this on YouTube, who was getting pissed that we were talking about these two shows on the same thing, because I think he was a Snyder Cult guy and he did not want us comparing Peacemaker to Gen V. He was pissed. But I do think both of these shows are at their best when all of our characters are squatted up. And it's not just their individual journeys back and forth. Here's one of them, then here's the other one, then here's the other one. It's all of them attacking the same goal together. That's when both of these shows are at their best. And so Gen V, I think my favorite show currently airing on television. We will do our full spoiler breakdown of episodes 4 and 5 next week, so stay tuned for that one. But now we will transition in to Peacemaker season 2, episode 6. Klein, we haven't talked about Peacemaker season 2 yet. What are your thoughts on the season as a whole?
I've been loving it. I've been loving the whole DCU experience so far. I am a diehard DC fan. I, growing up, was a DC Comics reader, and then it wasn't until 2008 really that I started to, when the MCU launched, I started to venture into the Marvel side of things. Of course, Spider-Man was there before that for me, but like DC was my bread and butter. And so getting to see that like these characters in this world like rendered on screen in such a way is very exciting to me. And I love the way they're doing this. I love that this show can exist in the same universe as Creature Commandos, can exist in the same universe as Superman, can exist in the same universe as a True Detective gritty crime drama in Lanterns that we're getting next year. This thing can be so many different things and have so many different flavors, even more so than the MCU. In my mind, the MCU for me is really like, it's all vanilla ice cream with different things mixed in, whereas this is completely different ice cream flavors from project to project. And I'm loving it. I think it picks up from season 1 quite well. The James Gunn humor is there. I don't know, like even like in this latest episode, I like seeing characters that were in other DCU projects, like using the R rating that they didn't get to in other DCU projects, which is like, it is fun. And I've seen some people complain that this season is a little slower. I just don't think there just hasn't been as much action, but I think that the character, this is more of a character story than it is like a superhero story, and you're more focused on like this internal journey of John Cena's Peacemaker rather than him fighting the aliens in season 1.
100%. And I think, well, I did enjoy season 1 a little bit more to this point. I think it was because like I do love that squad element. I appreciate the character development that we've gotten in season 2, but I just enjoy it more personally when they're all together as opposed to doing their character development individually on their own. Sean, spoiler warning in full effect. Let's talk about season 2, episode 6. I've been waiting for this episode for so long. It did not disappoint. Before I even throw it to you, I apologize. I do this all the time. I act like I'm going to throw it to somebody and then I monologue. And I'm going to do it again right now. But I got to shout out myself and Damon because we have been fucking spot on for every single theory in this show so far. Now, look, everybody kind of got the alternate universe. Is this going to be an Earth X? Is this going to be a racist universe? Well, it looks like based on that flag that we got, that Peacemaker picked up, this is genuinely an Earth X. They are doing the story of This is the world that the Nazis won, World War II. I got to shout out Damon. He clocked it immediately. That wasn't something I clocked when I was watching the screeners, just because I'm watching on my laptop. I'm focused on like the main characters and no one else. I didn't even see anybody in the background. But, you know, watching TV, trying to fully analyze on a big 70-inch screen, all of a sudden you start noticing those things. And Damon, first time we went into that universe, he called that. And not only did he call that universe, but he called that the what are those guys' names? The
Sons of Liberty.
Sons of Liberty in this universe would be good guys. He called that in this universe, the Sons of Liberty will be good guys, and that's where we see this universe's vigilante is actually fighting with the Sons of Liberty. Incredible stuff. And from the very beginning, when we did our first Peacemaker primer, we asked the question, like, what DCU characters do we think could show up in this show? And my first guess was, he's in Belle Reve prison. We know this show has the connection there. We're going to see Lex Luthor. And then as soon as we saw them, as soon as James Gunn was talking about Man of Tomorrow and the connections, I thought, oh shit, we're going to see Lex Luthor. And lo and behold, I love when a theory comes true. Lex Luthor making an appearance in this episode. I'm done tooting my own horn. Sean, what did you think about episode 6?
I think this is the best episode of the season, 1,000%, and I think has the best scene of either season in this scene, and what James Gunn does best, and it's just a conversation. And I think I've talked about before. I think some of my best like favorite scenes in all of superhero medium end up just being straight up conversations, two people talking, and wow. I love that Lex Luthor is in the show. And it's something I said about episode 1 with the Justice Gang being in it. And this is kind of adding on to what Klein said about comparing it to the MCU, is this universe already feels so much more connected than the MCU ever has, because you're seeing these people jump. And I know Peacemaker season 2 and Superman were shooting at the same exact time. Obviously, the stars aligned there, but it was probably for a very good reason, because James Gunn knew these things were going to happen and lined it up that way, which the MCU has not done that famously. You know, there's so many things that happen. They're like, why wasn't that person there? Happens all the time, like pretty much every movie and TV show, to the fact where Kevin Feige's like, you know, Daredevil season 2 isn't even going to reference what happened in Thunderbolts, even though this crazy...
Everyone was put through the worst trauma they've ever experienced in their entire life.
Yeah, I miss Marvel. This is off topic, but I miss Marvel one-shots so much, because those did such a good job of filling in those gaps of like,
for sure,
hey, actually, Captain America, Iron Man 2, Thor, Incredible Hulk, all this shit happened within a week. Coulson was busy. Like, I love that. That is great, but they don't even come close to doing that anymore.
Yeah, so the fact that James Gunn has like started this, and it seems like there's an obvious through line of what's going on, you know, from Superman to Peacemaker, or even Creature Commandos to Superman to Peacemaker to Supergirl to Man of Tomorrow. There's like a clear through line, while still telling their own individual stories. Because you can watch this, and they've mentioned Lex Luthor in this season already, what he's done, and he has a reason to be in this. It makes sense. It's not just a cameo for cameo's sake. It makes sense narratively. Same thing with the Justice Gang stuff. Like Peacemaker's like, I saved the world. I want to be a hero. I don't want to be seen as a joke. I don't want to be seen as a villain. I want to be seen as a hero. I want to join this hero group and be accepted among them. But yeah, this episode was such like they finally added gas to the fire, and things are truly rolling as hard as they possibly could. I know we've talked about like how the show is going to end, and I'm still kind of they show the trailer for the next episode at the end of the episode, and there's a certain scene where you see Harcourt react to something, and I definitely think it's her seeing the alternate universe Rick Flag Jr. I think that's going to be a big thing, because I think that's going to be the biggest thing between Rick Flag Sr. and wanting to kill Peacemaker, is the fact that there's another version of his son that's there. and I still have no idea how the season's going to end, and in an exciting way. Not as in I have no idea where this is going because the story's everywhere. It's just like at the rate it is getting crazy, I have no idea where this is headed, and it's exciting. But this episode was incredible. The scene between Harcourt and Chris talking to each other in that room was beautiful and perfect. And it's what James Gunn does best, and is a full realization of characters and them actually saying it to each other, which can be a very frustrating thing in TV and movies. And I love that they point out, they're like, you just left, you didn't even have the conversation. And he's like, I tried to talk to you. And he's like, yeah, when there was a million Asians with guns pointed at your head, not the best time, guy. I like that they even pointed out like the stupidity of Chris in that moment, even though that was his like validating chosen moment to leave that dimension for the other one. And also Vigilante MVP. Love that guy.
We got
so
two
much. It's the best. It is the absolute best. And having his secret room be full of stolen money and drugs is the most.
I can't use that for Floyd Bunny.
I love everyone being like, oh yeah, we would never use this money. What are you talking about? Like because all of their like motivating factors has been they're kind of stuck professionally, and especially Emilio Harcourt's like, yeah, my utilities are going to turn off. So yes, I'm going to steal his drug money to use in real life. Like, and I did. James Gunn was on Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura. Brett Kreischer wasn't there for that episode. I'm sure he's like on tour filming something or whatever. And James Gunn said something that I loved so much. And because Tom Segura was kind of asking him like, hey, what is your kind of methodology in including like all of these different kind of tonalities in your writing? Like, sometimes it's a drama, but it's also a superhero show. Then it's funny. And then it's like super grounded. And he's like, I like to write everything like it is in real life. Obviously there's these things that are very larger than life and not real, but like, I like to base these characters in reality. And he's like, in life, regardless if you're going through hard times or tough times or happy times, like there's always laughter that is always involved in life. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's why his stuff like works so well, and it doesn't feel tonally off. It feels just like how real life is, like you go through those ebbs and flows, but there's always that level of laughter and comedy. I mean, unless your life is absolutely terrible, which I'm sorry, but there's always that like that feeling of you need that release in laughter. So having these like funny moments totally makes sense, and it doesn't feel off-putting at all. So seeing it kind of fully realized in this episode too, of having those moments, because obviously that conversation between Harcourt and Chris is very serious and emotional. And also, I know I think we've talked about this before, but anyone's being like, oh yeah, of course James Gunn put his wife in his show or whatever. She is an incredible actor, and she acts her ass off in this scene. And he even said, I watched the after show podcast with him, Steve Agee, and Jennifer Holland, and they have guests from the production as well. And he was like, that's my favorite scene, acting wise, I've ever seen you do ever. And I think he said the same for John Cena too. I think he said to this point, but John Cena has been unreal in both seasons. So it's just great. I'm loving the show, and I'm really excited to see how it wraps up, because I, again, no idea where it's going.
Everything about Jennifer Holland is perfect. The emotional scene, the action scenes, the silhouette in the shower, almost made me pass out. She's just like like she's perfect. She's perfect in every way, and I don't have a single bad thing to say about her. Klein, give me your general thoughts on episode 6, and then also give me your Lex Luthor takes. What did you think of his appearance in this episode?
Oh, I agree. I'm in line with Sean here. I think that this is the best of the season. I think the only thing that competes with it is probably the premiere. I think the premiere is really strong. But just the fact that we're now, like, the fuse has been lit and we are finally leading towards some big thing towards the end. I also don't really know what it means, which is exciting to me, because so much of the show, like, you were mentioning Reckless Rebellion as we started, TJ. You'll get to it in the episode, but I said as it was happening, like, this will be outdated the second we put the episode out. But I kind of predicted this episode beat for beat, and I was like, we're gonna see Lex. We're gonna get Lex. He's gonna show up. We're gonna need him for help to get to this other dimension, because what did he do in Superman? He created a pocket dimension, learned interdimensional travel. So getting him is very exciting to me, and it further strengthens the connective tissue that is going to ultimately make or break the DCU. And I think that's what James Gunn has thrived at so far, is really, really making this feel like a world, and making this feel like it is existing in the same continuity that Superman did. But every character, even though it is the same character from Superman, it does still feel like the reins are off, or like like he talks he talks about the I don't even remember what the expletive filled monologue was, but he talks about
the butt fucking in the cell to the side from two
exactly
metahumans. Yeah.
And hearing that come out of Lex Luthor's mouth is quite shocking
And
to
that
me.
was the very I just said butt fuck on the podcast, and that was an incredibly censored version of what was said in the show.
True.
So I think like that, to me, if they can keep doing this, and James Gunn has teased there's more cameos coming in season 2, I'd be interested to know who we think those are going to be, because we only have 2 more episodes left. The fact that we have a Lex, like, it makes this feel like no one is better than any particular project in the DCU, which I have felt a little bit in the MCU. Like, why would Iron Man show up in Miss Marvel? Or like, why would Chris Evans pop up in an Ant-Man movie? Like, there are some names that almost feel like they are better than some of the projects within the universe. Whereas in the DCU, it's no holds bar. Anyone can show up anywhere. We can have Lois Lane pop up in Lanterns. We can have Lex Luthor pop up here. We can have Supergirl show up at the end of the Superman movie. So I'm just like really excited to get more of that and see more of these like familiar faces, and then also introduce new faces, like some of the characters from Peacemaker now, Economos, Adebayo, Harcourt. Like, where do we see them next? And that is like, that's like the comic book nerd in me, like, geeking out over it, because that's the thing I do love about comics, is like, we're telling this great story right here, but then like Doctor Strange is going to show up for a panel and is just going to, or a page, and like do this thing and then pop out, and because it is all existing in the same continuity.
Couldn't agree more. That's the type of stuff that I love as well. It's the type of thing that made me love Spider-Man the animated series growing up, is just like getting those pop-ins with each of the episodes. That's what comic book content should be. Like, if you're living now, if you have all the rights, use them. And I couldn't agree more. Klein, I do want to throw this next question to you when talking about Lex and parallel universes, because the James Gunn has teased that for Man of Tomorrow, it is going to need to be Superman and Lex somewhat joining forces to face a greater threat. And then you pointed to your head. My first thought is Brainiac as the person that is going to be coming to that they will have to team up with to stop. But Damon brought this up to me when I originally said Brainiac, and I'm starting to think that it might be the case, because they did just fully introduce Earth X. That's what this is. It had the Nazi little symbol on the American flag. Will Man of Tomorrow, the threat that Lex and Superman are facing, will it be a Brainiac or another Superman villain, or will it be Crisis on Earth X, Crisis on Two Earths? And we are seeing these universes either, collide. One of them's got to go. And we see Crisis already happening in the DCU right off the bat.
I think we hold off on that. I think that a Crisis event is the end game for whatever this first era of DC looks like. Like, I think that's still 10 years away, but the introduction of something like Earth X and the pocket dimensions and things like that, they are normalizing these things. They are normalizing that there are these alternate realities. It is very like casually thrown out in this DCU, instead of being this big, oh my gosh, there's other realities. So I don't think it's going to be a Crisis thing. I am sticking to my guns. In 2022, I wrote an article for thedirect.com that was basically me pitching how I would reboot the DCU as a lifelong DC fan. And I pitched in that a Superman sequel called Man of Tomorrow, featuring Brainiac, seeing Superman team up with other people in his life to take on Brainiac. So I'm sticking to my guns simply so James Gunn can write me a check when this movie comes out and all of that happens.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I could still see it being a scenario where they do an early Crisis, and it's the Earth X one specifically. And then 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is down the line, that's when you get Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's when Matt Reeves's Batman universe gets wiped out. That's when all these other things happen, and they streamline it from all the Elseworlds are gone, and they streamline it into one universe, and maybe with even a younger Batman at that time. Who knows? Maybe that's when they're going to do it again. But I think the most likely scenario is Brainiac, but it is fun to think about. Crisis is exciting. The Crisis crossovers are my favorite parts of the Arrowverse. I really, really enjoyed them. Maybe not my favorite parts, but among my favorite parts. And they're pretty fun stories. Sean, what do you think? Brainiac or Crisis? And do you think that's why we're seeing Earth X, is to set up Crisis on Earth X?
I think it's definitely more of a Brainiac type thing than a Crisis on Earth X type thing. But I don't know. That's tough to tell, because it's again, we both kind of like, how are they going to wrap the story up? And is just because obviously James Gunn has kind of said like, this is the prequel for Man of Tomorrow, Peacemaker season 2 is, and is it just the Lex of it all? Probably. I just feel like they kind of contain this alternate universe, especially with like what Marvel's doing and how the multiverse thing has, been whatever, and they're doing pretty much, Secret Wars is the Marvel version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, basically. You know what I mean? It's like the same kind of premise, just done very differently. So even if it is 10 years from now or something, like I feel like that's almost still too soon. And it's like too similar to what the MCU did, even though they went Endgame and then this next saga is Secret Wars and stuff. It's just like, I feel like he wants to steer clear of that kind of thing, of being too close to what the MCU has done. So I like the fact that they've introduced the multiverse, and it's not done in some way where it's going to be some, massive thing to connect other DC stuff or anything like that. It's really just a show. It's like a narrative thing again with James. It's grass is greener on the other side, and I love the line of Hardcore's like, "Oh, this is your perfect world," the one where the Nazis won, and it's perfect that she clocked it, because she went in a mission to save, I think, ultimately the person she loves. Chris went in it because he thinks he's getting everything that he lost, and that includes Hardcore, his dad, his brother. He thinks like this is the life he should have had, and it's always the grass is greener. And then he finds out, oh yeah, everyone's a Nazi. Great, So I think they're going to somehow contain this, but it is a big Earth X thing, is that there's a Nazi Justice League, which includes a Superman that was raised by Hitler. So because I wrote an article for Claire.com about this whole Earth X thing, and how everyone's guessing, oh yeah, I bet David Cornswet shows him in Peacemaker. And if David Cornswet shows him in Peacemaker as Nazi Superman, pretty wild cameo. But again, if that's the case, how do you deal with that? I don't think the Peacemaker crew is going to be getting rid of
One of the helmets
who
is a
has zero
kryptonite
conscience. I mean, I guess, but that's kind of a waste of a Nazi Superman.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Or they don't
just have
defeat,
him,
they
like,
just escape.
Looming as they're escaping. I could see that.
It is like a final chase.
The problem with that is they would need to, as long as they destroy like that doorway.
Oh, they are monster inking this door. Like all of these doors are
Shredding
getting
the door.
shredded by the end of this. It's gone.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's like the biggest thing. Like I like maybe Rick Flag, the weird bumbly version of Rick Flag Jr. comes over this universe and lives, whatever, which would be hilarious. But like who knows? Yeah, I definitely think they're going to get rid of that universe. So if that's the case and they just escape and then get rid of it, then cool, great, awesome. But yeah, I don't think they're going to play into the multiverse. I definitely think Man of Tomorrow is going to be a Brainiac thing, and obviously now Lex Luthor being a partner with Argus, which is a major government organization, that's going to be a big problem. Oh my God, the Xenomorph! I love that.
Before all
John
the
called
doors
him a
are
Xenomorph.
destroyed, Ryan suggesting that the one random alien that never says hi will come in and save the day. Called him a Xenomorph in that last one. We got the Spider-Man meme reference in the last one, which I do think it kind of reaffirms that in the Marvel universe, DC is made up stories. It's fiction. And in the DC universe, Marvel is fiction. It's made up stories. It's their comic books in those each other's universes. I had one other. Oh, in reference to like that, I don't think James Gunn will do similar things to what the MCU is doing. I do get it, but at the same time, I also just it is hard not to notice in Superman the direct comparisons to the storyline that was going with what Lex was doing overseas to Russia, Ukraine, to Israel, Palestine. And so it would not surprise me if James Gunn was like, hey, so for our first big team up, we are doing superheroes versus Nazis because that's what the world needs right now. That honestly wouldn't surprise me that much because he's not afraid of being on the nose.
No, someone did post a really great theory, and it was like, I hope the post-credit scene of the last episode is just Rick Flag letting G.I. Robot into the alternate universe. And I'm like,
yes, that's what I want too. Like
that would be pretty great.
That's what we've been talking about since like early on, since Damon came up with this is the Nazi universe theory. And I mean, I don't want to shout out to Damon for being really early. Everybody has been thinking this since seeing these episodes, but that's what we've been saying is just like we need GI Robot. Like Rick Flag is in this show and there's a Nazi universe. We need GI Robot to be sent over there. It would be so perfect. I didn't make a rundown today. We're already at over an hour, but I feel like this was a really, really great episode of television. I agree with you guys. This was the strongest of season 2 so far. I can't wait to see what we're getting in episode 7 and 8. It was unorganized this morning, busy day, and I do have another show that starts in 20 minutes though, so I think I will wrap us up because I got to go start talking about football. But Klein, any more final thoughts on Peacemaker season 2 episode 6?
Not really. I'm so excited for the last 2 episodes. The creative team behind the show kept hyping up 6 or 8, 6 or 8, 6 or 8. Like, this is the best thing I've ever written, James Gunn continues to say. And all these actors are like, oh my gosh, the performance in this episode and the cameos in this episode. And I kept thinking to myself, what does that mean? Like, is this just like the hype? And I don't think it was. I do really think that episode 6 stepped it up, and I hope episode 7 and episode 8 do the same.
Couldn't agree more. Sean, how about you? Final thoughts on the 2 episodes? Any theories that we haven't talked about yet? I'm still all aboard. We see Ted Kord's Blue Beetle show up in these last 2 episodes. He's been trapped in the pocket dimension, and he is the one that was making the Peacemaker helmets. And that's where he's been trapped this whole time. That is my I love that theory. Shout out Chris V, friend of the show, former guest, came up with that one, but I'm all aboard that one as well. Any final theories and thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great theory. Yeah, I would love to see Ted Kord. I know like a Booster Gold's been a big thing that's out there. I don't know if that's a leak or speculation or whatever. I don't even, it's hard to tell on Twitter nowadays what's real and what's not. So that would be cool too if we get Booster Gold introduced. I do have a feeling like when they go to Monsters Inc., these doors, or whatever's left in the quantum enfolding chamber, whatever they decide to try and do with it to solve the issue, I feel like that might lead to some wild craziness. And if it's introducing new characters or something like that would be a fun way to do it in a way that makes sense, where it's not MCU post-credit scene and introducing Harry Styles to never be seen again. That's a good way to write it into the narrative, and I don't think so. And we'll have a nice segue into like, oh yep, they're now a part of the world. And I do think that the series will end maybe with like checkmate forming. I have a very big suspicion that Rick Flag is not going to be the head of Argus by the end of this anymore. And that makes me interested to like what he will do if he gets removed from that position. Because everyone's kind of in on the game or like, this dude is just on a revenge mission, even though he's trying to twist it in whatever ways. Like, it's pretty obvious. It's all a personal vendetta for him and why his son died, which, you know, I get it, dude. It makes sense. Like, I understand. But even him getting to the head of Argus, it was obviously just for this, to find out who killed his son, which respect it that he cared so much about his son that like he went on this crazy mission to do that, you know, got his back broken by Clayface and all this stuff just to figure out who killed his son and get revenge. Like I have a little respect for him for that 100%. I'm just like, that's like the one thing I'm curious to see, like what happens with Amanda Waller, if she's in the series or if she gets mentioned again near the end of it. And I think it kind of forms with like Harcourt and probably Bordeaux and Economos and probably Peacemaker, like all forming like Checkmate or something like that. Because I really do feel like bookending the show with Peacemaker wanting to join a team and him actually joining a team, I can really see that happening. I would even be cool if he joined the Justice Gang. I don't think that's going to happen, but there would be like such a sense of happiness in me if he did. But I'm also trying to picture him in a bigger role in a PG-13 movie and how that would work. But I'm sure it would be fine. But
piggybacking on that, my theory is although Rick Flag Sr. he knows what he's doing tactically, I don't think he's any match mentally, strategically for Lex Luthor. And so I think Lex Luthor somehow gets a one-up on him here. And maybe we see Lex somehow being pseudo in charge of Argus. Maybe Rick Flag Sr. is still the figurehead, but Lex is able to pull something on him. Maybe Lex has his son from the other dimension. Maybe Lex is the one that brings him over and holds him captive to make Rick Flag Sr. do his bidding for Argus. I think we could end up seeing, if that's the case, Argus putting together a little like super team to protect the world, when in reality it's just a anti-metahuman team. But Peacemaker's on that team because he wants to belong. Yeah. He wants to be on a team. He wants to save the world. But he ends up becoming one of Lex Luthor's lackeys a little bit. Klein, you got Reckless Rebellion podcast, you got Controller Club podcast, you do a ton of great work over at the Direct. Where can the people find you? Where can they find your work?
Yeah, just head on over Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter to @thekleinfelt, TheKleinfelt. You'll find all the links to everything I do over there. Controller Club, Reckless Rebellion, the Direct. Lots of great Controller Club content right now. We still are coming off of PAX, which was at the beginning of the month. We went down to Seattle, did our first trip down there, and still have content, interviews, attendee TikTok videos, like all sorts of fun stuff that we're putting together. So yeah, find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, where I'll be posting up all that.
Still need you to venture a little, slightly, barely, but a little bit further east, Klein, so we can get you at Edmonton or Calgary Expo so that we can finally meet up in person and take a picture where even though I know how tall you are, I'll still be surprised as I am up to your nipples as we take a little photo together. But Sean, where can Klein's tall? Okay, people don't know Klein is tall. Sean, where can the people find you on socials?
You can find me on socials at Metalcore Nerds. Again, follow the podcast. I've been trying to go harder on YouTube, so if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, please subscribe to the Metalcore Nerds YouTube. We got a lot of really cool interviews coming up. In 2 weeks, there will be a special Peacemaker centric episode where you kind of will get a behind the scenes look and some of the music of Peacemaker. I will leave it at that. If you've watched the show, you know who it is. So metalcorenerds.com too. It's all there. It's easy. Or you can follow me on my personal @SeanXMott if you want, I guess.
You heard it here first. If you want to see Sean go hard on YouTube, Metalcore Nerds is where he's going to be doing it. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Hit the like button on your way out. Help us out. Help us battle that algorithm, grow this community. We appreciate all that were joining us live today. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our future content. Next week, we'll be talking more Gen V. We'll be talking more Peacemaker. And, of course, we got the Comic Corner on Thursday as well. Hopefully we should have some more fun interviews coming. But in the meantime, you can find my chat with Brian Andrews and Brad Winderbaum, director, executive producers for Marvel Zombies. And of course, Brad, the head of Marvel TV streaming and animation as well. Up on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Music. Leave us a nice little Apple Podcast. Leave us a nice little review there. We will read it out here on the show. You have a question, you have a theory, you want something else to bring up, drop it there, and we will do it here on the show. You can find us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And check out agentsoffandom.com for all the latest in news and reviews. You can find Sean's write-up from my interview. You can find my recent reviews for Chad Powers, Only Murders in the Building. Plus, Ryan and Ethan had a bunch of stuff dropping from the Toronto International Film Festival as well. So that's agentsoffandom.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself, Klein, and Sean, we will see you next time.